That is the optimum profit equation for this business. So what am I saying? You need to figure out for your business what your optimum profit equation is. I don't care if you have one vehicle, right? You're going to have to figure out what is the equivalent to your equation. How do you figure out your pricing? Well, the last slide of this presentation talks about our financial course. Okay. Now you can very simply create your own worksheet, or you can email me and I'll give you this one. This is a perfect example. I'm not taking everybody through this on this presentation, but on the left-hand side are all your costs. This is an example of a Volvo S90. After you pay for the vehicle, the insurance, the gasoline, the repairs and maintenance, what if I told you your daily cost on that unit is $88 a day? It costs you 80 cents a mile. And if that's before it even goes out the door, it costs you $88 just to sit there. The rest of this is how you determine your pricing. If you look close enough at it, and this is really not as complex as it seems, you can do this on your own. All your costs are on your left. What do you pay your drivers in the middle, and transfer and charters? And then it shows you gross profit margin. But no matter how you calculate it, you've got to have 40 cents left over in order to, after every trip, after every fixed expense and variable, you got to have 40% left over.
On average, or
Yeah.
because you had that slide with the 30 to 35% for sedans
On
and
average,
SUVs.
on
Okay,
average.
over
Yeah.
your whole fleet, you mean?
Absolutely.
It
I
should
want
be
you to have
okay.
a blended 40%. Right.
Okay,
Now
got
listen,
it.
if you say to me, oh, geez, Ken, all I have is sedans and SUVs. Okay, then you better figure out other ways than just airports to use them. You better use them for night outs, for dinners, for executives during the week. You better use them for charters. You better find a way to get a higher gross profit margin. Okay, diversify, because at the end of the day, if you're only doing 30 to 35%, I guarantee you won't have enough money left over to pay your overhead, pay yourself, and to make a profit. Okay, so where not to get your prices? Don't get them from Facebook posts. Don't get them from your competitors, and don't listen to a friend in the business. Why? Well, the chances that their cost structure is the same as yours is zero. And there's just absolutely no good information. There's no comparable information that comes out of Facebook, right? Your fleet insurance is different than the next guy. Your overhead is different. Your whole cost structure is different. What you've got to do is basically just take a sheet of paper. What are my costs? Add 40% to my costs to make sure that I've got enough money left over. So manage your overhead. This doesn't really vary. If you don't do this from the day you start your business, okay, you're never going to make a profit. So in general, your overhead expenses should be 20 to 25% for companies under $1 million. Why? You can run it out of your house. If you're running it out of your house, or you only have a few vehicles, your overhead better be low. As you get to the middle of the market, which is between, 1 and 5 million is really the, well, 1 and 3 million is like 70% of the industry. Your overhead better be 22 to 25%. So what does that mean? For every $100 you take in, you better have $40 left over at the end of the trip after you've paid everybody, and your overhead should not take up more than 22 to 25% of 20 to 25% of what you have left over. If it takes up more, you don't have enough money to pay yourself. So how do you cut your overhead? It's simple. Scrutinize every cost and expense that is not needed to generate revenue. Evaluate your staff. Some companies I know that are smaller are outsourcing from day one. And examine your infrastructure, and is remote workers, is that more appropriate for you? Examine your sales and marketing expenses and make sure there's a clear return on investment. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about maximizing every lead, but if you get a PPC lead, and we talked about this, or you get a lead from a website or a phone call, if you don't sell them the first time and you just say, oh, well, that wasn't a good lead, guess what? You're not letting that person know everything you do. If you don't sell them the airport trip, send them an email, say, listen, I'm sorry we didn't sell your airport trip, or maybe, you chose another service or you chose another alternative, but here are all of the other things that we do. We'll get into that a little bit further. But strategy 3 is manage your overhead expenses. This is an important slide. I don't want to get into a ton of it, but every single business has a maximum profit equation. Now, take a look at this company. This is a company that last year they did 558,000. This year they did 753,000. So they grew greater than 10%, which is fantastic. They managed 60% cost of goods. So that's every nickel it took to do the work. They delivered what I said. 60% cost of goods, 39.7% leftover gross margin, close enough. Their overhead was 24.5%, including the owner paying himself a substantial W-2 income, and they killed it on net profit. 10% is the goal. They made 15%. That is the optimum profit equation for this business. So what am I saying? You need to figure out for your business what your optimum profit equation is. I don't care if you have one vehicle, right? You're going to have to figure out what is the equivalent to your equation. Now, the bigger the company is, the more you're going to skew certain things. Like large companies, huge companies have 70% cost of goods, but here's the beauty. So they may only have 30% gross margin. They do so much business that their overhead's probably only 20%, and they're able to post a net profit. So tips to improve net operating income. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to tell you something. If you're managing your business retrospectively with one annual profit and loss statement, right? Guy does your taxes at the end of the year. He sends you a P&L. There's nothing you can do, right?
Yeah.
All that P&L did was tell you what taxes you owe or how much of a loss that you created. There's no way for you to manage your business. So measure it. This is going to be done on a monthly basis, which we teach in the course, what you can also do on your own with a decent P&L on your own. Measure and manage all your direct costs, increase prices on less competitive, larger vehicles and services. By the way, your hourly rate on a charter and a sedan or an SUV should not be what you charge for an airport. If somebody is going to use you at night, you should be charging extra. You should be charging differently. Some people will do transfers at night in city, like from home to inside the city and then come back and get you. It should be more expensive than an airport trip. Okay.
Yeah.
Your charter rates should be higher. Improve efficiencies in your operation and increase your asset utilization. Well, what do I mean by that, Ken? That's a big company term. No, it's not. It's finding more ways to use that vehicle. If your vehicles sleep on the weekends, shame on you. You should be doing bride and groom getaways. I'll come pick you up at the end of your wedding. And instead of a $120 airport trip, guess what? It's $200. Who won't do that at the end of their wedding? Or again, there's plenty of things to do on the weekends. Your vehicles should not be sleeping. Cut expenses to use technology. We're going to show you how even a small company can appear big by using tech a little bit later.